All right, guys, I'm going to continue with this Magneto paint tutorial, but not paint today. And the reason why, I tried this earlier, it didn't go so well. Let's try again. So I had filmed me painting this cape, and the footage was not very good, to be honest with you. I was having some focusing problems, so I didn't really get a lot of footage that was usable. So what I thought I'd do is talk about almost like a little bit of a comic book lecture today and show you just some of the thinking that I have when doing the inking, the thinking with the inking. And the best way to really learn some of those inking techniques is to look at, old comic books, obviously. And this is an issue of Captain Britain that I loved when I was a kid. And what you can see here, let me get a brush so I'll mess this thing up. So what you're trying to emulate, and the reason why this comic is so great is because it's in black and white only, so you're basically only focusing on the techniques that they were using for creating shadows, like these hatches, also contouring muscles, like here, where you start with a thicker shadow and then you feather it out, or you use a pen, or whatever it is, even using black and then painting white in there. These are kind of the principles that you want to learn to study in order to do a good comic book style. So I'll just show you a few on this piece of paper that I'm using, and then I'm going to play a little clip of me painting this cape, and you'll see some of those techniques being used. So for example, here, let's do one technique. One that I'm using is I'm creating a dark shadow. Here, let's use this Sharpie pen. I'm creating a dark shadow, and then what I'm doing is I'm feathering out by pulling the brush to create that shadow. Okay, so that's one that I'm doing. Another one that I'm doing is to paint a line, and then you're feathering that out with the rest of the line. I could probably, this brush pen might emulate it better because you are going to be using a brush when you're painting a miniature. So something like that. And then another technique I'm using is when you create a line and then you take the color that you're working with. So here it's just on a white piece of paper, but for this cape it would be, the purple that I'm using. And then you're coming in and painting over that line using the color that you're using. So those are kind of the 1, 2, 3 techniques that you'll see. And then just also you'll see me randomly do little things here and there. If you're wanting to do different blobs, you'll see me do little techniques like that. If you want to, even add a little debris on there, you'll see little, or scratches, things like that. So these are all little inking things that when you apply that to this look, you'll really start to capture the feeling of a comic. So here's that quick clip of me painting, and hopefully this will help you out. So here I'm using that FW ink. It's a water-based ink, and sometimes it is not black enough for me, or it's too runny. So I'm going to show you one of the things that you can do to remedy if the ink is too runny for you is to take acrylic paint and mix it with the ink to create a hybrid. So you'll see me doing that here. I'm taking a little bit of that black acrylic paint, I'm mixing in some ink, and then it has a better viscosity to it that's darker and easier to control. There I'm creating a shadow underneath of that piece of rubble. Here's some of those splotches to just add something more interesting. There I'm creating that dark shadow, and then I'll pull out some of those lines with the brush. And what you'll do is if you make a mistake, it's not a big deal. You just take the original color of the base coat, and then you can go in and begin to carve out some of the light into the dark lines. You can cover up your mistakes. With painting like this, it's always a push and pull. You try things out, and if it doesn't work, you just can correct it. So hopefully that gives you an idea of some of the techniques that I use to paint the cape. And then what I will do is I will continue with Magneto in the next video, where I'm doing the black comic book inking on him. And that might be a challenge because he's such a small model, but we'll see. Yeah, so until next time, keep gaming and keep painting.